The protein lie that's making you weaker. The shocking opening. What if I told you that the protein advice you've been following your entire life, the same advice taught in schools, printed on food labels, and recommended by doctors, is actually making you weaker every single day? Stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I'm about to show you will completely change how you think about getting older, staying strong, and maintaining your independence. Here's what's happening right now as you're reading this. If you're over 50, your body is literally stealing muscle from you. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. And the worst part? You've been unknowingly helping it happen by following official health guidelines that were never designed for people like us. The devastating story. Let me tell you about Margaret, a 68-year-old grandmother from Ohio who followed every piece of official health advice she'd ever received. She ate her recommended portions, took her vitamins, and walked every morning for 30 years, but something was terribly wrong. Margaret started noticing that simple tasks were becoming harder. Getting up from her favorite chair required a little push with her arms. Carrying a bag of groceries from the car to the kitchen left her winded. The stairs to her bedroom started feeling like climbing a mountain. Her doctor ran every test imaginable. Heart, perfect. Blood pressure, great. Cholesterol, excellent. You're doing everything right, Margaret, he said. This is just normal aging. But here's the truth that no one told Margaret. She was experiencing something called sarcopenia, the silent theft of muscle mass that affects 1 in 3 people over 60. And it wasn't normal aging at all. It was preventable. Margaret was getting exactly the amount of protein that the government recommended. She was doing everything by the book. And that's precisely why she was getting weaker. Because the book was wrong. Think about that for a second. We're using protein recommendations from the 1960s for bodies living in 2025. Would you use a 1960s computer to run your smart TV? Would you follow 1960s safety standards for your car? Of course not. So why are we following 1960s nutrition advice for our bodies? The Jenga tower visualization, I want you to imagine your muscle mass as a tall, sturdy Jenga tower. When you're young, let's say in your 20s, this tower is rock solid. You can bump into it, shake the table, even pull out a block here and there, and it stays strong. But here's what nobody tells you. Starting around age 30, your body begins pulling 1 Jenga block from your muscle tower every single day. Not metaphorically, literally. You lose between 3 to 8% of your muscle mass every decade after 30. At first, you don't notice. The tower still looks fine, you still feel strong. But as the years pass, 40, 50, 60, more and more blocks disappear. The structure gets wobbly. Now picture this. The current protein recommendation is like being handed 1 tiny Jenga block per month to repair that daily damage, 1 block per month, when you're losing 30 blocks per month. This isn't just a cute metaphor, this is your metabolic reality. And the scariest part, once that tower falls, once you lose too much muscle mass, rebuilding it becomes incredibly difficult. Some doctors say nearly impossible. But what if I told you there's a different way? What if you didn't have to be Margaret? What if you could not only stop losing those blocks, but actually start adding them back? The solution is simpler than you think. Shocking statistics and urgency. Before I show you the solution, you need to understand just how urgent this is. Listen to this. Every 11 seconds in America, an older adult ends up in the emergency room because of a fall. Every 19 minutes, an older adult dies from a fall. We're talking about over 36,000 deaths per year, but here's what's really heartbreaking. Most of these falls aren't accidents. They're the direct result of muscle weakness. The same muscle weakness that proper protein intake could have prevented. The economic impact: falls among older adults cost our healthcare system over $50 billion every year. But the personal cost? That's immeasurable. Loss of independence, loss of confidence, loss of the life you worked so hard to build. And if you think, well, I'm active, this won't happen to me, listen to this study. Researchers took healthy older adults, people just like you who exercised regularly, and put them on bed rest for just 10 days. Just 10 days. The results were terrifying. They lost nearly 2 pounds of muscle mass from their legs alone. Their strength dropped by 16% in 10 days. Now imagine what's happening over months and years of following inadequate protein guidelines. The origin of the lie. So where did this devastating protein recommendation come from? The number that's been guiding us for decades is 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. For a 150-pound person, that's about 55 grams of protein per day. For a 180-pound person, it's about 65 grams. These numbers weren't pulled out of thin air. They came from legitimate scientific studies. But here's the problem, and this is crucial. Those studies had nothing to do with optimal health. The research was conducted primarily on young college students, healthy 20-year-olds with fast metabolisms and rapidly growing bodies. And the researchers weren't trying to find the optimal amount of protein for strength, longevity, or healthy aging. They were looking for the bare minimum amount needed to prevent protein deficiency, the amount needed to keep you from literally wasting away. Think about it this way: there's a massive difference between not starving and thriving. The current protein recommendations ensure you won't starve. They say absolutely nothing about whether you'll be strong, independent, and capable at 70, 80, or 90 years old. It's like aiming for minimum wage when planning your retirement. Sure, you won't starve, but you certainly won't thrive. But here's where it gets even worse. Not only were these studies done on young people, but our bodies change dramatically as we age. The most critical change is something scientists call anabolic resistance. Anabolic just means to build up. As we get older, our muscles become hard of hearing. They don't respond to protein signals the way they used to. It's like your muscles develop selective hearing for the very thing they need most. A 25-year-old can eat 20 grams of protein and their muscles shout, "Let's build." A 65-year-old eats the same 20 grams and their muscles barely whisper, "Huh? Did someone say something?" So we're giving older adults, whose bodies are already resisting muscle building, the same minimal protein dose designed for young people whose bodies are muscle building machines. It's nutritional malpractice, plain and simple. Margaret's transformation. Remember Margaret from the beginning? Here's the rest of her story. After learning about anabolic resistance and proper protein intake, Margaret made a simple change. Instead of following the outdated RDA, she increased her protein to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. For her 140-pound frame, that meant going from about 50 grams of protein per day to about 76 grams. That's it. No expensive supplements, no complicated meal plans, just 26 extra grams of protein per day. 6 months later, Margaret was carrying her groceries with ease. She was climbing those stairs without holding the railing. She started lifting weights twice a week, something she never thought she'd do at 68. But the most amazing change? Her doctor, the same one who told her weakness was normal aging, was amazed by her muscle mass improvements in her DEXA scan. "Whatever you're doing," he said, "keep doing it." Margaret had gained 4.2 pounds of pure muscle mass in 6 months. At 68 years old, she was literally getting younger, biologically speaking. And Margaret isn't unique. This is busting the deadly myths. Now let's destroy the 4 myths that are keeping you weak. Myth number 1, the RDA is the gold standard. We've already seen where the RDA came from. Young people, survival mode. But let's look at what the actual experts on aging recommend now. The European Society for Clinical Nutrition and Metabolism, these are the world's leading experts on nutrition and aging, have completely thrown out the old RDA for older adults. Their new recommendation, at least 1.0 to 1.2 grams per kilogram for healthy older adults. For those dealing with illness or stress, which let's be honest, becomes more common as we age, they recommend 1.2 to 1.5 grams per kilogram. For our 150-pound person, that's 68 to 102 grams instead of 55. For our 180-pound person, that's 82 to 123 grams instead of 65. We're talking about 50 to 100% more protein than what you've been told to eat. One major study followed older adults for 3 years. Those eating 1.2 grams per kilogram lost 40% less muscle mass than those following the old RDA. 40%. Myth number 2, you can only absorb 30 grams of protein at once. This myth is everywhere and it's keeping people weak. Here's what really happens when you eat more than 30 grams of protein. Your body doesn't just throw the extra away, it digests and absorbs all of it. It just takes a little longer. Think of it like a highway toll booth. During rush hour, cars back up, but every single car eventually gets through. The confusion comes from muscle protein synthesis research. Scientists found that about 25-30 grams of high-quality protein maximally stimulates the muscle building signal. Eating more doesn't make that signal stronger. But remember anabolic resistance? Older adults need a stronger signal to get the same response. So while 20 grams might max out muscle building in a 25-year-old, you might need 35 or even 40 grams to get the same effect at 65. Myth number 3, all protein is created equal. This is huge. You wouldn't build a house with paper instead of bricks, right? For muscle building, protein quality matters just as much as quantity. The superstar amino acid is leucine. If protein is the message to build muscle, leucine is the megaphone that makes sure your muscles actually hear it. Research shows older adults need about 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine per meal to overcome anabolic resistance and trigger muscle building. Here's where to find it: 4 Oz chicken breast, 2.8 G leucine 1 cup Greek yogurt, 2.5 G leucine 1 scoop whey protein, 2.53 G leucine 4 whole eggs, 2.2g leucine 6 Oz salmon, 3.1g leucine plant proteins can work too, but you often need larger portions or smart combinations to hit that leucine target. Myth number 4, higher protein will damage your kidneys. This myth has probably prevented more people from getting adequate protein than any other piece of misinformation. Here's the truth. Multiple large-scale studies involving thousands of participants have shown that higher protein intake, in the ranges we're discussing, is completely safe for people with healthy kidneys. One study followed 74,000 women for over 20 years. Those eating the most protein had zero increased risk of kidney problems compared to those eating the least. The myth started because doctors tell people with existing severe kidney disease to limit protein. But that's like saying exercise is dangerous because someone with a broken leg shouldn't run a marathon. Of course, if you have kidney disease, talk to your doctor. But for the vast majority of people, the fear of kidney damage should never prevent you from getting the protein your muscles desperately need. Your strength building action plan. Alright, enough theory, let's get practical. Here's your step-by-step plan to start rebuilding your strength today. Step 1, calculate your personal protein target. This is dead simple. First, get your weight in kilograms. If you only know pounds, divide by 2.2, 150 pounds, 2.2, was 68 kilo, 180 pounds, 2.2, 82 kilos, 200 pounds, 2.2, well, I'm from 91 kilos. Now multiply by 1.2 to 1.6, depending on your activity level and health status, sedentary and healthy, 1.2 active and healthy, 1.4 very active or dealing with illness, 1.6 examples, 150 lb person, 82 to 109 grams per day, 180 lb person, 98 to 131 grams per day, 200 lb person, 109 to 146 grams per day. Start at the lower end and work your way up as your body adapts. Step 2, master the 30 gram rule. Take your daily target and divide by 3 meals, aiming for at least 30 grams per meal. This ensures you're sending strong muscle building signals throughout the day. For 100 grams daily, 35-gram breakfast, 35-gram lunch, 30-gram dinner. Step 3, build your high leucine meal foundation. Every single meal should be built around a high-quality protein source. Breakfast options, 3 to 4 whole eggs, 24 to 32 green protein, 2.2, 2.9 green leucine, 1 cup Greek yogurt plus 1 scoop protein powder, 35-40 gram protein, 4 to 5 green leucine, protein smoothie with berries and spinach, 30-35 green protein, lunch and dinner options, 5 to 6 Oz lean meat, fish, 35-42 gram protein, 3-4 green leucine, 8 Oz firm tofu, 20 gram protein, plus 1 per 4 cup hemp seeds, 10 gram protein, 1.5 cups cottage cheese, 36 dry protein, 3.5 growth leucine, power snacks, 1 Oz almonds, plus 1 string cheese, 12 grey protein, 1.2 cup Greek yogurt, 12-15 grain protein, hard-boiled eggs, 6 G protein each. Step 4, the non-negotiable partner, resistance training. Here's the brutal truth, you can eat all the protein in the world, but without resistance training, you're just creating expensive urine. Resistance training is the signal that tells your body, hey, we need to be stronger. Use that protein to build muscle. You don't need to become a power lifter. Start with body weight exercises, squats, push-ups, planks, resistance bands, light dumbbells, gym machines if you have access. The magic happens when protein meets resistance. One without the other is like trying to clap with one hand. The shocking research revelation. Before we wrap up, I need to share one more piece of research that will blow your mind. A recent study from the University of Arkansas took 2 groups of older adults with sarcopenia, muscle wasting. Both groups did the exact same resistance training program. The only difference? One group followed the old RDA protein guidelines, the other followed the new recommendations. After 12 weeks, RDA group, 2.1% increase in muscle mass. Higher protein group, 8.7% increase in muscle mass. Same exercise, same effort. 4 times better results with adequate protein. But here's the kicker. The higher protein group didn't just gain muscle. They also improved their walking speed by 23%, increased their stair climbing power by 31%, reduced their risk of falls by an estimated 40%. We're not just talking about bigger muscles here. We're talking about independence, confidence, the ability to live life on your own terms for decades longer. Addressing the skeptics now, I know some of you are thinking, this sounds too good to be true, or if this was real, wouldn't my doctor know about it? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Medical school provides very little nutrition education. The average doctor gets less than 20 hours of nutrition training in their entire medical education. Most of what they know comes from the same outdated guidelines we've been discussing. Plus, nutrition research takes years to filter down into practice. The research I'm sharing with you has been published in top-tier journals, but it takes 10-15 years for new findings to become standard practice. You have a choice. Wait 15 years for the medical establishment to catch up, or start implementing proven strategies today. Of course, always work with your healthcare team, especially if you have existing conditions, but don't let outdated guidelines rob you of your strength while you wait for the system to catch up. The urgency factor. Here's why you need to start today, not next Monday, not next month. Remember, you're losing muscle mass every single day. Every day you wait to implement proper protein intake is another day your Jenga tower gets weaker. At 50, you lose about 1 to 2% of muscle mass per year. At 60, that accelerates to 1.53% per year. At 70, it can be 3 to 8% per year. Time is literally not on your side. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to rebuild what you've lost. But here's the good news. It's never too late to start. Studies show people in their 80s and 90s can still build significant muscle mass with proper protein and resistance training. However, the earlier you start, the more you'll benefit. Starting at 50 is better than starting at 60. Starting at 60 is infinitely better than starting at 70. The best time to start was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. The transformation promise. If you implement everything I've shared today, if you increase your protein to optimal levels and add resistance training, here's what you can expect. Week 1-2, increased energy, better sleep, reduced cravings. Week 3-6, noticeable strength improvements, better mood, clothes fitting differently. Week 7-12, visible muscle definition, significant strength gains, improved confidence. Take Sarah, a 62-year-old teacher from Texas. She increased her protein from 45 grams to 85 grams per day and started doing resistance bands twice a week. In 90 days, she gained 3.8 pounds of muscle, lost 12 pounds of fat, and could carry her grandson up the stairs without getting winded. She told me, "I feel stronger at 62 than I did at 52. You are not destined to become weak and fragile. That's not a biological certainty. It's a choice. And now you have the knowledge to choose differently." For decades, we've been following advice that was never designed for people who want to thrive as they age. We've been building our golden years on a foundation of outdated science and minimum requirements. But today, that changes. You now have the truth. You have the tools. You have the power to fight back against age-related muscle loss and reclaim your strength. The question isn't whether you can get stronger. Science proves you can. The question is, will you? Your strength, your independence, your future, it's all in your hands. Take action today. Calculate your protein target. Plan your next meal around it. Your future self, the one who's strong, independent, and thriving at 80, 90, and beyond, is counting on the decision you make right now.